A guardian of healthy living, sworn enemy of Emeka and Ikeji's bad decisions, and the man who won't let you enjoy junk food in peace or use soda to swallow paracetamol, founder of the 100K Club. He is on a mission to make healthcare accessible to all. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Aproko Doctor.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of CreativiTEA. Yay! And today we have an exciting guest in the house. I'm particularly very, very excited because this is somebody that you all know and who has been doing a lot of marvelous job out there, not just as a storyteller and as a medical doctor, but also as somebody who cares about your well-being and the well-being of everybody in the society. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me say a very big welcome to Aproko Doctor. You are welcome.
Thank you.
You
Thank
look
you.
nice. I love your cap.
Thank you.
Our doctor is not just giving us story. He's also very fashionable, man. Look at the brown colors matching. Amazing. Nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's I like creativity. T.
Yeah, we
it's
see tea, and you
yeah.
tell us the tea about your brand and
I
everything
see.
going
I
on
see.
with you.
Please don't leave us behind. We're still here.
So welcome once again.
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad you're here.
Thank you. I'm
today.
actually excited to be here.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you're excited. So that means you're going to be spilling a lot. So tell us a bit about, let's get to know you more. I know we know a lot about you. We see you online, but the things we don't really see. Just let's start from your childhood a bit. So tell us about your childhood. Were you born in Lagos? Were you born in Imo State?
I was born in Lagos, Surulere to be precise.
Really?
Yes. Aguda. I know. I'm trying to remember the exact address of the hospital, but I know it's somewhere in Aguda, Surulere. First off, 3 kids. I've always known that we're 5, so my dad, my mom, and 2 siblings.
Elder or younger?
I'm the eldest.
Oh, you're the eldest.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
okay.
and that usually comes with a lot of responsibility,
course.
especially
Of course.
especially if you're growing up in a middle to low income household.
Yeah.
I loved books growing up. Read a lot of books because books to me were more like an escape from where I currently was, right, or where I was at that point in life. So a lot of people don't know this, but I would say middle class initially because we went to one of the best schools in Aguda, and then at some point we woke up one morning and my dad had lost everything he had, my mom had lost everything she had. We were boggled and something, and there was little to no knowledge about insurance, and so you have to start from scratch again. This required my mom to sell akara and pap. And of course, as the first son, you have to be hands-on, right? And I learned a lot about the trade, basically. And so, because I did not like where I was at that point in time, books to me were more like an escape. So while I was carrying the pap, selling it, I would find a corner and just read. So that exposed me to stories.
Nice.
Because I read a lot of novels. Yes, read a lot of novels. I remember one of the oldest novels being The Gunslinger. It was quite a large book. And so the people that naturally became friends with me were people who loved to read also. And this is me trying to say who I am without telling you I'm a doctor, I'm a storyteller, because I'm like, remove those things. Who exactly are you? You know, if you remove all the things you do, what exactly are you? This might come as a shock to people, but I'm an introvert. I'm a really yes. Whatever people see on screen is basically an act.
Are you freaking
Yes,
kidding
yes,
me?
it is. I can't keep it up for
For
long
long.
because it's not something that comes naturally to me. It does because it's a story. I can
It's
fit into that person to tell a story. But naturally, if you leave me, I'm the kind
it's
of
actually a
person.
talent, actually.
Yes,
Yeah. So
I'm the kind of person you would bring to a party, and I'm in one corner reading with a glass of, I would have said wine, but we don't drink wine here now. We drink water and tea, you know. Yeah, so
that's interesting. So, what motivated you to become a medical doctor?
um, this is where people usually do aspire to recover some containers,
But don't do
but
that.
I'm not going to do that. When you know book, everybody just assumes you're supposed to be in
Be a
science
medical
class.
doctor. Yeah.
So I went to science class. Remember, I read a lot of novels, but for some reason, it was just easy for me to pass exams. So
Okay.
it bright more science class. And I went to science class, and there became a point in my life where I was confused as to what to become. My best subject in the sciences was physics. I hated calculations, but I just loved physics. Physics explained the world. At some point, I was worried about what causes mirage. You're driving on the highway and it looks like there's water. You get it, there's no water. Physics did that for me. Physics explained pressure, explained forces, explained acceleration. Amadia, I was about to strike right there, but. And so I loved physics. Biology, yes, right? But because it was easy, my dad had always wanted to be a medical doctor, but he couldn't
You
afford
couldn't.
it. And that's because even growing up, we sold drugs in a small pharmacy, right? And he had this book called Where There Is No Doctor. And I read that book from cover to cover. Because I had run out of books to read. So that was the only book in the house at that point, and I read it plus a number of other books. And it was be a medical doctor, you know. It was went into school, passed my exams at one sitting, and then I got into medical school. So yeah,
So when you were there, it felt right though, right? It felt like this is what I'm
it
supposed to
yes,
do.
it did not feel like I was out of place, because I also believe that there are certain things that happen in your life that determine what your
Yeah.
story is.
Yeah.
You can't define your story at 13 years or 14 years or 15 or 17. You really don't know a lot about life to decide what you're going to be at that point. Sometimes just let life lead. So medical school, medical doctor. I was quite excited when I got the final examination. I was like, oh yeah, you can now be a medical doctor. I was one of the happiest days of my life. Called my mom on the phone and I was cussing. It's like, your son is this is where you put medical doctor. She was shocked that I was cussing, but that's old doctor now. So
And you did practice.
yes, I
And you
did.
still practice, right? Do you still practice?
Clinically, no.
Okay.
Clinically, no. I took a break from clinical practice in 2020. That's COVID year, just at the beginning of COVID year.
Okay. And that was exact same time you started to tell stories online, right?
No, I started telling stories in 2015.
Far back as
Yes,
2015.
far back as 2015. So I had always been drawn to the arts, right? And here was me, medical doctor, art inclined, storytelling inclined. How exactly do we fuse the two? Initially, for me, it was a TV box idea. The TV box, that was what it was in my head. It wasn't Aproko Doctor yet. And it was because I had come across a couple of patients. And there were some patients who were doing bad, some were doing good. But then I realized that a lot of them did not know a lot about their healthcare, including those who were suffering from these diseases. And so you ask someone, what exactly are you suffering from? And they say, the doctor said, I have hypertension. So he doesn't really understand what
But
hypertension
yeah.
is. And I got involved in, ensuring that people got educated. Wherever there's an outreach, I would join them, would go to the towns, talk to the old women. And it was helping, but I felt like there could be more, right? And so I started to use my social media accounts, Facebook here and there, pass a couple of, posts. But then the people on Facebook are just your family and friends, especially at that time. And they don't really send you like that, right? Um, then I got into housemanship in Imo States. I was working at a particular hospital one day, and then this woman rushed in a kid. Her child was paper white.
Wow.
It had lost a lot of blood.
Wow.
And apparently this child had been convulsing. And I was, why exactly is this child being convulsing? Was a fever. Tried to find out what the fever was. Okay, I saw some marks on the child's body, saw a few things, and I started to ask questions. Why exactly are these things there? What are these things? Apparently, they had gotten some cow dung and they had putting it in the child's. They had tried to feed the child with it because apparently somebody said that cow dung can abort seizures. That didn't work. She peed into the child's eyes. That didn't work. She took coal, burning charcoal. She put it on the child's feet to help abort the seizures, but it wasn't really helping, so they rushed them to the hospital. And a couple of by the time I started to ask them some questions, I realized that this was common practice, and a lot of people really believed it. And that's when I knew I really needed to take education seriously. Now, okay, some people would say, but the patients are right there in front of you. Why not educate them while they're in front of you? Why do you need to use social media? Or digital media, as I like to call it now, because it's no longer social. and I realized that I had 60, 50 patients a day. Divide that by 8 hours. There's not a lot of time to spend with one patient.
Yeah.
The longer you spend with one, the more other people suffer. And so that's what inspired me to start to tell the stories online. But when they didn't start out as stories, they started out as prescription, because that was the only thing I knew how to do. It was, as a doctor, talk like a doctor, behave like a doctor, speak like a doctor. But it wasn't really gaining any traction. And until something happened in the hospital where I worked, I'll keep the stories for later, and I decided to tell a story about it. When I told the story about it, it went viral on X, now X. When I told the story about it, it went viral on What's Now X. And I realized, people love stories. We breathe stories, we live stories. And that was when I switched and started changing to stories. And so everything I do right now, storytelling.
Beautiful. So how did you come about the name Aproko Doctor? I've always wanted to know. Because you said you were an introvert.
Yeah.
In Delta State, Aproko means somebody that...
Talkative.
Yeah.
You just poke nose in their mouth in everybody's business. Radio without battery.
So are you like that?
No, I'm not. I'm not. Everybody gossips. Can we just agree?
Okay.
Can we just agree? Everybody gossips at some level.
At some level.
At some level. You talk about other things. It's just how much of those kind of conversations make up the bulk of your day. Right? For people they spend all their day talking about other people, it's fine. But I just wanted to put it out there so that people don't think, because when I hear motivational speakers speak, they kind of annoy me. You'd say, everybody, don't spend your day talking to other people. Have you listened to married people talk? They talk about other people.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even if you're not even married, or it's just your boyfriend or your girlfriend, people are talking about other people. So everybody gossips. Let's just put it out there. Aproko generally was, I think I'd been brainstorming. I wanted to know what the befitting name was. It was switching. Can't remember a couple of the other names, but I kept reiterating. Almost every week I changed my name. I wanted something that was catchy and something you could hold on to and say, okay, this is who this person is. But people started to now say I was a little bit too much in their business. That, why are you talking about this thing as if me and you are in the same house? And I realized, the radio without battery, Aproko. But then again, a part of me fought, and the part of me that fought was the part that went to medical school, which was you had spent all this time becoming a doctor. And a doctor in the Nigerian society is someone who is, you're noble. You're supposed to,
Serious.
you're serious.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be a certain way. And then there's Aproko. Doesn't necessarily fit. But then the creative part of me is like, you know what? Screw that. Add it in there. And when I did, it got a couple of reactions.
Good
Some
or bad?
people immediately said he's not serious, right? Other people really liked it. But then I started to do some deep digging, and I found out that the people who were put off about the Aproko Doctor were people who I was not supposed to talk to. They were not my target audience, right? They had access to doctors. They had the finest doctors. They could go to hospitals in Ikoyi or Lekki. Why are you talking this way? The people I wanted to talk to, the Emekas and Nkechis, one name, Guamoku, talk to me. Those were the kind of reactions I got. Yes, Guam the Aproko from another person's, because it felt like we were telling on other people, but they were just made up stories, right? But the stories were very relatable, so people could see themselves in it. And that was what made me stick with Aproko, because it resonated with the audience I was trying to reach. I did not say this when I started to make the videos. Initially, they were not storytelling, right? There were 5 ways to keep your liver healthy, and I would go into a rant and expose detailed, and nobody cared. And I was wondering, but Chris Clown will make one video and get hundreds of thousands of views. Can't you people see that I'm trying to help your health? And I was basically trying to gaslight people into resonating with the content, but you're trying to speak to them in a language that they don't understand.
Yeah.
And so when we switched into storytelling, made it shorter, because trying to bore people with facts is like telling somebody to climb a treadmill when they're not ready to. If they're not really interested in a treadmill, it just feels that way, right? So you're boring them with facts. It feels like they're on a treadmill. There's something about the human brain. The human brain always wants to conserve energy. You might think otherwise, that but no, it wants to conserve energy. So anything that tends to put a task on the brain that the person does not perceive to be important to their own survival becomes something that they don't pay attention to. But if you can tell stories, almost everybody's receptive to stories. Stories excite your emotions. Emotions inspire action, not information. We usually think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
People who know better do better. No, people who feel better
Feel better.
do
Yes.
better.
Yeah.
The knowledge has to get to a feeling point. Because when people know or just know, it's mental assent. When they're just mentally ascending to the fact, it's difficult for them to sustain that. Which is why a lot of people claim that what you need is consistency. I don't agree. You need to be obsessed with what you're doing for you to continue doing it. Because people who are obsessed with an act find it difficult to stop. People who are not obsessed find it difficult to do it, and that's why they have to wake up every morning and listen to listen to motivational stuff just for them to do it. It's not. And so what we wanted to do was to get people to feel rather than just know. Knowing is it, but get them to feel.
That's interesting, because you're saying it in other words, but that's what we actually call passion in brand and marketing. Appealing to the passion points of the people, speaking in their language. And you said something also very important. Your name. I was going to a lot of people would have been put off. I'm telling you, a lot of brand
a lot of people were.
would
they
be
were.
put off. But you said something very important. They were not the people you wanted to talk to. So that's something that I think creatives and creators should learn. Your target audience is very important. You need to just focus on those target audience, and then all your decisions and everything has to be dependent on them. So it's actually interesting to hear your side of the story. Amazing.
Thank you.
But it wasn't like it was even planned. It's just something that just happens, and I think you have it in you, and then somehow your talent is just.
So I had always been what you call a gifted kid. I could sing, I could act, I could.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Ooh,
I sing good.
Did you try singing?
I told my mom I was going to become an artist at one point, and I remember that day who were under the umbrella selling akara. And she looked at the akara she was selling and wound her hand around her head and said, God forbid over my dead body. You know. and I think I could understand why. Because people at that time, creativity was not lucrative. The people who went towards the arts were seen as misfits in society, you know. So, unlike now, where you
We are the ish.
yeah, you ask someone who is 4 years old, what do you become to be in life? I think I watched a video where somebody was saying, "Oh, I want to be Charlie Poppy," and then you realize just how much influence the creative world tends to have on people right now. You
Yeah.
know, I think Emma even made a statement a few days ago. He said, "The creators will change Africa," and in some subconscious way, I think I agree.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course. So I know you're a doctor, and then everybody expects everything you say to be accurate, right? But you don't know it all now, Abby.
Yeah, I don't.
You still have to do your research and all of that. So I wanted to ask you, how do you ensure that everything you say online is accurate and people can just take your word for it?
Okay. So I think first of all, I understand how much responsibility is on my shoulders.
Very important.
Contrary to other people's belief, I did not start this for fame. I didn't start this for money. I didn't start this for
Yeah, you said it yourself. You were actually doing outreaches. You were going out to talk to people.
yes,
So it's something
yes.
that
It
you really
was.
wanted to do.
It is something I wanted to do. It felt like I had a sense of duty to do this, and it wasn't something I could just easily put off and walk away from. I mean, I would have when my mates were leaving the country. Yes, I mean, I prepared for those exams, but for some reason, I just couldn't pull the trigger. It felt like there was something holding me back, saying you still have something to do here, right? So I know I have on a very deep sense a sense of responsibility to the Nigerian people because of the state of our healthcare, because of the state of the information that's currently available.
Yeah.
Right, health promotion is a huge part of universal healthcare, and that does not seem to have a front seat when we're making decisions. And so, responsibility first. Secondly, a lot of research. Right. Granted, there will be some errors, but the thing about where we are currently is we're at a stage where we can easily ensure that those errors do not become widespread. Right, and so we have steps before any information goes out to the public. It has to be cross-checked by a couple of people, right? We have doctors who work in our team. We've currently built a team of about 20 people that are all invested in this. So every time you see any video of Aproko Doctor online, just know that there are about 20 people behind the scenes working to make sure that that is possible, right? And I'm even trying to, do something where we are all Aproko Doctor, right? So health information belongs to us all. Research and ensuring that there's a sense of responsibility. So in the midst of storytelling, we do not lose out on the fact that health information is the goal. So, yes, how I like to put it. You know how we used to grow up and you didn't want to take a drug, and your parents would put the drug in a bar, wrap it, and then give it to you to eat. So we just wrap the information in stories. But even though we do that, we try to ensure that we're given the right drug or we're given the right prescription, and not just anything that comes because you want to go viral. Yeah, there might be that. What do you call it? It's like, oh, none of our videos have gone viral in a while. Let's say something that's a little bit sensational, controversial. Now, if the videos come, they come. We've made videos on certain topics that are not as controversial as others, but I know that they've gotten to their target audience, and that's what matters to us. Not necessarily because a large number of people see it. I think at some point, especially if you're involved in the kind of work I do, you have to work hard against what I refer to as vanity metrics. Yes, views are important, but is that all there is? What about the impact
Yeah.
on the lives of the people? So
Yeah.
we ensure that we don't lose sight of our goals. Responsibility, research, ensure that we reach the people that we want to reach.
Cool. My next question is, why did you decide to stop practicing clinically, and now you're focused on just storytelling? Is that it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Is
So
there a reason why?
yes. One of the reasons where, if you look at the platform we've been able to build, I dare say, across all platforms, close to 10 million people,
Yeah.
right? From LinkedIn to WhatsApp channels to YouTube to Facebook and the rest. Now, it took quite some work getting there. And at some point, you're going to have to, because when people hear doctor, immediately they think stethoscope and office.
Yeah.
But what we don't realize is that there are different types of doctors. There are doctors who are involved in public health. There are doctors who are involved in research. There are doctors who are involved in community engagement. There are doctors who are surgeons. There are doctors who are, name it. We have different types of doctors. But most Nigerians who do not even have access to proper health care, first of all, once you say doctor, first of all, white shirt, lab coats, anything aside from that, you're not a doctor. Which is why when people ask me, are you a real doctor? Like, I think I probably need to start walking around my certificate, put it on my chest, and just, walk around in it. Now, like I said earlier, responsibility. It was difficult
Yeah.
reaching those number of people while at the same time managing a day job. And even when I left clinical practice to do this, initially it was more like I was going to take a break.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm going to take 6 months and just focus on this, because I could see that it was beginning to impact a couple of lives. There were stories I was hearing that was like, oh yes, this is actually what we should be doing. There was a story of a particular lady whose child was saved by a video that I put online,
That's
right?
good.
She had swallowed her elder sister's earrings and she was choking. And she remembered exactly how I mentioned to save a child from choking. Remembered the video, did everything, and had all those steps, and it fell out, right? So that was impact. And I realized, oh, there are actually a number of people who might need this. And so, you know what? I'll just do 6 months. And 6 months has become 5 years. Yeah. And, we're just growing and trying to expand as much as we can.
Interesting. I know you guys have questions. I'll come to you later. But my next question to you is this: I followed your story about the brain tumor you had in 2022, right? How how was the experience like? And you being on the you're a doctor, but now this time people had to take care of you. So how did it feel? And then you can also go ahead and tell us about your impression of the medical situation or the hospitals, state of hospitals in Nigeria.
I'd say it was a scary moment for me. I say scary because that was one of the first times I had, not one of the first times, that was my third surgery.
Third.
Yes. That was my
For the same
third
thing?
surgery. No? No.
Okay.
So the first surgery I had was an appendectomy. I was 17. After the appendectomy, my part of my intestine died.
Wow.
Yes. And so they had to open me up, cut out the parts, and resect it back. So it was like a
Yeah.
major surgery. That was my second surgery. So it wasn't necessarily news to me that I was going to go do surgery again. Right? I mean,
You've done it
I'm
before.
like, I've done it before.
Yeah.
Let's go back in. But it was scary. It was scary because there was a lot of uncertainty. As at the point when I went blind in both eyes, I did not know exactly what was causing the surgery. What was causing the tumor? Whether it was a swollen blood vessel, because in medicine we just do differentials, right?
So you went blind before you went for the surgery?
Oh yes, I was blind in both eyes.
You did?
So let me
Really?
let me
Please
let
take us
me
back.
let me
Yes.
retrace a bit. I was driving one Saturday, going to the mall, and I realized that my left eye felt funny. It just felt funny, you know. I went back home, spoke to my wife. I'm like, I don't like the way my left eye feels. It feels funny. It feels like there's something in it. You know, my wife goes very spiritual. She was like, nothing's going to happen to your eye. She even laid hands on my head that day. I'm like, yes, amen. And then the next day I had a job. It was supposed to be a speaking engagement. I got there early. They hadn't started. So I was like, okay, fine. At least I have some time by myself. I went upstairs and I just sat by myself and I was like, you know what? Let me just close my eye and see what's going on. And I closed my right eye and I realized that I couldn't see out of my left. It's like, interesting.
Interesting.
Okay, what is the first cause of this? I was like, it looks to me like glaucoma. Probably my eye pressure has been high. So I was like, you know what? We're going to go with glaucoma. It's something that can be treated. Never occurred to me that there was a tumor somewhere. And so I go back to my host who was downstairs and I told him, look, I can't see out of my left eye. I really need to do the speech and leave immediately. He thought that I was trying to play fast one and just, leave the responsibility because they had paid me to come talk to people.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine. Finally, he succumbed. I went downstairs and I spoke. And after speaking, I left. I drove with a bad eye down to my ophthalmologist. And I got there. No, not an ophthalmologist, optometrist rather. And I got there and I spoke to them. I was like, I can see out of my left eye. I think it's glaucoma. Check my eye pressure. I was basically the one saying, just do what to do. And they checked my eye pressure, said my eye pressure was fine. I was like, can you see my retina? So retina is like the lens, is like after the lens, what the image falls on.
Yeah.
There's a retina. I was like, if it's not the eye pressure, most likely is the retina. They checked the retina. I said my retina is fine. As a matter of fact, your retina is picture perfect. And I was like, oh shit. Probably means that there's something sitting on the wire, which I call nerves, which I call wires, that transmits these images back to my brain. And so I go and do an MRI. This happened in one day. Because I was like, okay, you know what? I really need to get to the bottom of this. And so we do an MRI, and they say there's a mass in my head. I was like, what could this mass be? And now, because it's inside your head, you don't know if it's cancer or just benign. Or if it's just a swollen blood vessel. And so it was a lot of uncertainty. I did not know what to expect. The more we wasted time, the worse my vision became.
Oh, wow.
So at some point, I left the left eye, and went into the right eye.
Wow.
Because it was sitting on both vessels now, on both, nerves now. And something was even occluding some blood vessels supplying these nerves, right? And it was just a mess. I think for the first time, I asked everybody to leave my car and I cried. Because here's what I've worked for a very long time, just, going. I'm like, am I going to be blind?
Wow.
Or am I going to die? Okay, so let's say you make out of the surgery alive. What happens? There's just a lot of uncertainty. And we went to I think it was an optician for, I think it was Teaching Hospital in Lagos. We went there, and when we went there, I saw the state of the hospital, and I'm like, we really need to do a lot, but that's not my problem. I came here as a patient first. I just want to get my eyesight done. Luckily, we were able to find a doctor in Lagos who was able to do that. I'm glad for the quality of care I received, but I'm not going to sit down here and sugarcoat it. It was expensive.
Of course.
And I just realized there are quite a number of people who do not have access to that quality of healthcare.
Yeah.
So what happens to them? There's a long wait list, for instance, of people who need to have brain surgery. But we don't have enough neurosurgeons.
We don't.
So what do? Their vision gets worse, or the brain, or the swelling in the brain gets worse. There are just too many things. But I think at that point, it taught me that life could happen to you, irrespective
Who you are.
of who you are. Right? This was me. I started to ask questions. Is it what I did? I don't smoke. I don't expose myself to carcinogens as much as I can. I exercise. I have a healthy lifestyle. Why would I just wake up and there's a tumor in my head?
yes.
And after the surgery, and we started to ask questions, and we realized that the kind of tumor I had was called a craniopharyngioma. It's the kind of tumor that just decides that, you know what, I'm going to do tumbon, and it's going to fall on anybody's head.
Wow.
Yes. There are no preventive factors, so you can't prevent it. We don't know what causes it. We just know it grows. And apparently, I was told that it'd been in my brain for a while. Probably since I was a teenager or a child.
Yeah.
And it was just slowly growing. Because I realized that at some point, even before I left medical school, I used to have headaches a lot. At some point, it just became natural stuff. I have headache, migraines, this, that. So, yeah.
Wow.
Life happens to you while you make other plans.
So what do you think about the state of I think I already know the answer to
Do you
that
do you
question.
do you do you want the abridged version, or do you want the if you ever want me to bring if you want to bring me out of my introverted state, just bring Nigeria's healthcare in front and as a point of discussion. And I was in a northeastern state a few days ago, and I saw the state of the primary healthcare center. I think I made a video about it that went viral. And
I think I saw that.
yes. And I got a lot of calls. Because, you know what? Let's just leave that. But let's just say I got a lot of calls, and there are a couple of reasons why people like us are important. We need to realize, not just the government, but the people themselves need to realize that a healthy nation is a wealthy nation. But you also need to realize that Nigerians have still not understood the importance of healthcare yet.
Right.
I'll tell you why. Most Nigerians are the kind of people who would leave expenses on healthcare until the very last.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have money for health insurance, but you have money for Ashwebi. Most times, it's the amount you need to just use for Ashwebi that would probably pay your health insurance for that month. But because we don't really understand on an intimate level how important healthcare is, we leave it until the very last. We wait until the system starts, and then we start trying to cure. While the best way to deal with health is to prevent first.
Yeah.
So my work goes on two levels. My work is directed towards the government when you talk about advocacy, and towards the people to improve their behavior towards healthcare. Even when we talk about healthcare, some people have started to become generally, you know what, I think it's time to take care of my health. And we've noticed that is between, because I actually had a breakdown of the community that I have online. And this community, the largest age group is between 25 to 34 years. And we started to brainstorm in the office and ask ourselves why. And we realized that between 25 to 24 years, 25 to 34,
Yeah.
the 25-year-olds are beginning to near 30. 30 is when you start to get some symptoms that, you know what, I'm not really as young as I used to be.
Yeah.
You know, you climb a staircase and your knees start to hurt. You know, you're probably not as active as you used to be. And it's like, yeah. Now, the lower age group, they don't really care. Because I'm still young and fit, but they think that it's going to last for a very long time. Here's the problem. What you do within that age group actually determines what the rest of your life will be.
Yeah.
It's not what you start doing when you're old. It's what you do when you're young. You notice that people who are generally fit didn't start late. They started early, right? And so the work is to the Nigerian people and to the government. Advocacy and then, awareness. But we could say, oh, we don't have good hospitals. We don't have this. We don't have that. But then again, what's the mindset of the people towards their healthcare first? I mean, we just came out from Dirty December. Do you know how much was spent last month alone? Now, I'm not trying to gaslight you into consulting doctors or consulting me.
Yeah.
That's not. But I'm just saying that you can see where our priorities lie. Where people are drawn towards enjoyment, dopamine, we have different priorities. Sometimes among the old, among the rich. So yes, before we talk about the state of the Nigerian healthcare, what's the state of the people towards people? You would also notice that our politicians do not come when it's time for votes and promise you better healthcare because they know it doesn't matter to you. They'll promise you roads. They will promise you increments in salaries. They will promise you everything, but they won't promise you better healthcare because they know it's not going to be popular amongst the people.
I won't be sick in Jesus' name.
Exactly. Which brings me to my next point, is that people need to be aware that there is that bias that occurs in every one of them. If you bring out the statistics and we say this, 5 in 10 people will take a car, have an accident. The average person just assumes I am not in the 5 that have an accident.
Yeah.
I'm in the 5 that
you know.
is safe. You now say, okay, let's shorten the number. You say 1 in 10 people live up to 99. The average person believes that you see that one person that gets up to 90 years, that's
It's
me.
me.
And so it's now very easy, especially when you're now throwing religion into the mix. It's now very easy when you say, you know what, 1 in 10 person is me. You know, every other person can die but me. But you're not making the steps needed because these things are not necessarily just miracles per se. We have a miracle-minded mentality when there are principles that guide life. If you reduce the chances of something happening to you, it might still happen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But you've reduced the chances so much that the chances of it happening is less. For example, if we say overspeeding kills, if you're driving very slow, the chances of you getting in a ghastly accident is little compared to somebody who is speeding.
Yeah.
But the fact that both of you are in a car increases the chances of you having a car accident. So these are the things that we're trying to change, and you know what? I think I've spoken a little bit too much.
No, you haven't said anything.
So the state of the Nigerian healthcare system is not just the hospitals; it's the people also.
The people.
And so what we're trying to do is to change the behaviors because the behaviors would even change the expectations. You go to hospital, you realize that this shouldn't be here, but we've been abused so much that we see what is rubbish and we just accept it.
I have a very terrible experience with hospitals.
Oh.
So, but topic for another day.
Yeah. I think it was working in the public sector that's I was like, you know what, I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this. I had a colleague who made an incubator out of carton for noodles.
What?
Yes.
And they use that on humans?
They put a live baby in it.
Oh my God.
With a bulb.
What?
To supply heat. You would think it's a movie. It's not.
Wow.
It's real life. It happened.
Wow.
And that's because generally we don't value life. If we value life, if the leadership values life, if the Nigerian people value life, our reactions towards a lot of things will change. We value money over life.
True.
We value money. And it shows in our actions.
Wow. Well, it's a good thing we have people like you who are speaking up and doing the right thing. And you guys you're not just talking, you're also actually contributing your own quota to making sure that the Nigerian health sector is better. And I think it's an example to all of us. We need to do something. We can't just all be waiting for the government to do this, to do that. You know, we have to do our own part as well, right? The Aproko Doctor, what was your motivation? Um, what was the motivation behind your volunteer work? Especially
I
the
don't
one
know.
that
To be honest,
maybe
to
you
be
should
honest,
say it. Maybe other people will be encouraged, to do like you, because you donated solar power to a mother. I think a mother and
a
child care
modern child
center.
at Ekbe.
Yes, if everybody.
That's the second one. The first one we did was at Baja. It was
Okay.
somewhere in Surulere. That was our first one. We did the first one. We did the second one. We screened over 1,000 women for cervical cancer. We've paid over 50 to 60 million in medical bills.
Wow.
But then it feels like we've not shifted the needle a bit. Because I'm going to say this, right? Nigeria as a country cannot crowdfund and NGO its way out of systemic issues. If you look at the countries who have work in healthcare, they are all involved.
Yeah.
There's a general mindset. Does it have its own challenges? Yes, it does. But could you tell that it's a matter of priority? Yes, it is. Here, we keep saying, almost everywhere you turn to, people are raising money for kidney failure, somebody's raising money for treatment of cancer, somebody's doing, and at some point it becomes overwhelming, even to the people who give.
Yes.
How much can you borrow? How much can you donate? How much can you give? Because initially, when our NGO started working, it started working as, you know what, we're going to help people who cannot afford healthcare afford the healthcare. Oh, did reality slap me in the face? Because by the time we had just 2 cases, all the money we had gotten was spent towards those 2 cases. And if you ask me to give a report of how much was invested towards those people in the 100K club, I could just point to 2 people. And some of them, the surgery or the treatment is not as successful as we envisioned it to be.
Wow.
And we realized early enough that we were throwing money down a black hole. And so we decided to shift our focus towards preventive measures. And one of the biggest cancers that kills women in this part of the world is cervical cancer.
Yeah.
However, how many women can afford screening? And so we said, okay, you know what? This is easy for us to achieve. Let's just raise money, screen women. And we did that. In the first tranche we ran, I think that was 2022 or so, screened over, I think, 411 or 412 women. Over 71 of them already had changes in their cervixes that were treated on the spot for free also, and they were followed up later. That is 71 women in the first tranche who might have lived lives that might have had cancer, stopped halfway. Now, you don't know if they're the breadwinners of society.
Yeah. You don't know if our future president is
You
among
don't know.
them.
But you've stopped that.
Yeah.
You've impacted millions of lives just by stopping something in the moment. Which is why I am now an avid advocate for preventive measures. If you can prevent it, prevent it. Don't wait until it comes and then you try to. Right?
Cure.
Now, so yes, that is one of the things that inspire me to do what I do. But I think that at some innate level, I am obsessed with it. Right? Obsessed because I know that if we don't stand up to do it, nobody will.
Yeah.
So somebody has to do something. Which is why even when we donated the solar units to Ekbe, I also made a call that brands should be more conscious. I know, yes, when we talk to marketers and brand managers, how do we increase the visibility? That is important. But have you also looked at it from the angle of the people you're trying to reach also need to be healthy in order to continue to afford your product?
Yeah.
Right? So these are the questions we need to ask. And of course, I applaud the brands that currently have CSR or initiatives that are directed towards health. Because the truth is, and I might say this, no, I'm not going to say it because people are just going to miss the message and turn it into something else. There is only so much the government can do,
Yeah.
if we're being honest.
Yeah.
Are we going to benefit from a little less spending? Yes. Yes. Yes, we will. And channel the money elsewhere. But there's only so much, right? It means that we all have to put hands together and ensure that we at least save the average Nigerian citizen. Most Nigerians are one disease away from poverty. And I'm not saying this as those sound bites. It's not it. Most Nigerians, one disease away from poverty. Remember when I told you I was 17 years old and my intestines couldn't wake up?
Yeah.
Yeah. I know what my dad did. I know how much of his capital left just to ensure that I got access to healthcare. Now, there are a lot of families who can do that. All of a sudden, the breadwinner is no longer a breadwinner because the disease happened to the breadwinner. And an entire family is launched into poverty. Yeah.
Very, 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 very interesting. No, the way you put it, it's the right context. I think everybody should just, take it seriously and see how we can do our own bits. To just change our mentality, first of all, like you said, Nigerians do not prioritize healthcare, and also preventive measures, very, very important.
Which one is my camera? That one, Abi?
This one, yeah.
That one is my camera. If you're a Nigerian living in Nigeria, please take your health seriously. Because it go be like that they talk too much. Because it's okay. You need a certain ratio of doctors to patients for you to have a working healthcare system.
And we don't have that. In Nigeria, we don't have doctors anymore.
You first need to ask yourself where your doctors are. Nigeria trained them for free. Beautiful. Even though it wasn't free. But then again, I usually ask those people, if you were Nigerian as a doctor in Nigeria with the current state of the healthcare and you had better options elsewhere, would you take it?
What was your response?
And we like to deceive Nigerians that, as a doctor is a calling. It's not a calling, it's a job.
But to some certain extent, you should have,
No, I am not going to sit down and let people gaslight doctors. Because every other job is done for profits.
For profit, yeah.
The doctor you say is called to be a doctor comes to your shop. The moment you see his sleeve shirts, you increase the price of your product. Because he's a doctor, you assume he can afford it. Meanwhile, that doctor has not... I worked in a hospital at some point, and for months I wasn't paid. I had to borrow money from friends. My parents had to send me money. So my parents would go to their family meeting and say, my son is a doctor, but I'm still sending him money for upkeep. Well, it looks funny, but it's not. And somebody would tell me it's a calling. Who is taking care of me? So it's yes, is a call. Is the doctor's work important?
Yeah.
Yes. But don't gaslight them into saying it's a calling.
It's not a calling.
It's a job.
It's a job. But
It's an important job.
Exactly.
Yes. It's an important job. It's a job that deals with human lives. But have you noticed that somebody who has been given that amount of responsibility has to be taken care of so that the normal mundane things in life don't take up their attention?
So, but what's the solution now to the predicament we have in Nigeria regarding doctors? Like you said, we don't have enough doctors in Nigeria.
Oh yes, I was still talking. I was still talking to you. Yes. I'm sorry. It's like I said, if you're a Nigerian living in Nigeria, You see, preventive health, take it seriously. Anything that will make you not be at the mercy, please take it seriously. Whether you are 15 years, whether you are 20, whether you are 35, whether you are 50, please take it seriously.
And it doesn't matter if you have access to even good hospitals.
You
It
see,
doesn't even matter.
no. If you belong in the people who fly out with private jets, it's fine.
It's
You can
fine,
you can
yes.
easily. You probably have like 3 or 4
But as
passports.
far as you're in Nigeria,
If you only have green passports, make it not be like saying nah. It's okay. Yeah, we're talking about the ratio. You probably just need to do that. Find out how many patients are to a doctor currently in Nigeria. There are thousands. And then you also need to realize that a lot of these doctors are not even concentrated in the rural areas.
yeah.
Many of them are in cities. A lot of them are in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Warri, name it, everywhere. The villages, they don't have as much as the cities. I mean, I went to a primary healthcare center that did not have a single doctor. There's no doctor there because they can't afford one.
So, is that a hospital
Yes, of course it is.
without doctors?
We have other health workers
Wow.
that might not be as equipped as a doctor.
Interesting.
Exactly. Now, you've asked what's the solution. I wish somebody would just wave a wand and solve the Nigerian healthcare problem, but it can't. The people have a part to play in it. The government has a part to play in it. Advocacy has a part to play in it. But one of the things that I would say is we need to increase the amount we spend towards healthcare.
Healthcare.
And I'm talking about the Nigerian government this time. If we talk about the Abuja Declaration, the Abuja Declaration was in 2001, if my memory serves me correctly, where a couple of African nations came together and said that they were going to allocate at least 15% of their national budget towards healthcare.
Yeah. That never happened.
It has not happened. So it also shows you that even in the mindsets, we don't believe. But yes, the government hasn't done its part. Private companies can do theirs. I wish we could call for more investment into healthcare, and yes, we should. However, the problem is you cannot call for more investment where there is no trust. And the
Yeah.
people do not necessarily trust the people who are in power to give them what my money is. So you're asking me to add extra, but I don't trust you enough. And so we have a trust deficit. And because we have that trust deficit, it's going to make people not donate. I mean, look at what happened with the COVID relief fund. We have a trust deficit. So the problem is plenty. And we cannot ask Aproko Doctor what the solution is. Let's just say take your health seriously. That is all I can say. Just take your health seriously. Until we get... and yes, funding for PEPFAR has been cut. Have you heard that?
No.
Okay. So, you know Trump is now the president, right,
Yeah,
of the United States of
States,
Africa.
yeah.
How does it affect you as a Nigerian? You need to realize that Nigeria has according to the UNICEF website, Nigeria has the second highest burden of HIV in the world.
Okay. I heard that news.
Yes.
They caught
If HIV doesn't get treated, it becomes AIDS.
Yes.
AIDS will kill you. That's not.
Yeah.
AIDS will kill you because it destroys your immunity to the point where if disease passes 3 kilometers away from you, you'll get it. That's in the most storytelling way I can put it, right? Now, if you're going to treat HIV, you're going to need antiretroviral drugs. The beautiful thing about antiretroviral drugs is that antiretroviral drugs have been shown to suppress these viruses to a point where somebody who is HIV positive can have relations with somebody who is HIV negative and not infect them.
Yeah.
As long as their viral levels are low.
Yeah.
Very low that is undetectable. Right? Is U equals to U. Is undetectable equals untransmissible. And a lot of people have been surviving on these drugs and they can live normal lives. Now, where do the drugs come from? They are donated by other countries. And major points, the US. Most of it comes from the US. Now, funding has been paused. I hope it's not cut, but it's been paused for these poor countries. And what that means is that a lot of the people who are dependent on the HIV drugs can no longer afford it. What do you think they would do? Afford it? No, because we have a poverty problem also. Remember I said earlier that we cannot NGO our way out of a systemic problem.
Yeah.
We're depending too much on donations when we should actually take care of the Nigerian people. So what it means is that the quality of life of people who are living with HIV will drop if Nigeria does not rise to the occasion. Infections will increase. Because these drugs also include PEP and PrEP. When infections increase, you're going to burden the already burdened health system. So you can see that there's a problem.
There's problem.
But you know what? If you're watching this, it's not your portion. Okay.
There's problem.
Okay. Please, I'm not the purveyor of doom. I'm a easygoing guy. I'm just saying it as it is.
I don't even know what next to ask. Like, where do we go from here? It's crazy. Okay. Let's go to lighter topics now.
Yes.
Because there seems to be no solution to the problem we have. But I think, like you said, the starting place is the awareness, which thankfully people like you are doing, and maybe more people will join you, and for Nigerians to change their mindset, and then for more people to join this advocacy thing, and hopefully the government will listen to us and play their part, but we don't have to rely on the government. Everybody have to do their own part. And as Aproko Doctor said, if you have a Nigerian passport, please take your health seriously and try to do preventive measures and save money or use money for your health rather than dirty December. Okay, let's go on to lighter topics. I'm almost getting depressed. Before I ask if anybody has questions for Dr. Aproko, what's your name, Seth? Egemba. Chinoso Fidelis. But everybody calls you Aproko Doctor. I'm not sure anybody remembers your name anymore.
Village people call me Fide.
Fide? Yeah. So you are a storyteller. And by the way, he doesn't like to be called a brand influencer. Why? Or a health influencer. Why?
So let's say that the word influencer has been bastardized.
I can understand.
And I say it without any form of reservation. The word influencer used to hold some weight. Influencer used to be somebody who impacts society, was able to influence behaviors. And yes, you can still refer to them as influencers. Right? But the reason I don't like being called a health influencer anymore is because my job goes beyond that. I'm the executive director of the 100K Club. You cannot bundle everything I do under the single word influencer. Might come off as cocky, and I understand it. But these days, when you ask people what you think is an influencer, they automatically think about the person who has 100,000 followers on social media. Having followers on social media doesn't make you an influencer.
Of course.
It makes you a popular person.
Yeah.
So maybe until, the word has whatever it needs to have. We can, but nah. I would rather be called a storyteller. I would rather be called a doctor. I would rather be called the executive director of the 100K Club. I would rather be called a change maker. I would rather be called anything else. But don't put everything and just call me advocate if that's what you want. Don't just put it as one word, influencer.
We need to do a lot of work, especially as creatives and creators, to rebrand a lot of things, especially that name, influencer. We need to do a lot of work. Oh.
Yep.
Anyways, he's a storyteller, he's a doctor, he's the medical director of the 100K Club, like you said. He's also an actor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you made your Netflix debut with Strain.
Strain.
Yes,
I love that movie.
he's also a husband,
Yeah.
and then
I'm a producer too because
pro-
we've produced 2 movies.
exactly.
Yeah. 2 health movies.
Two health movies. Yes, I saw that on YouTube.
Yeah.
That's amazing as well. You're taking your storytelling telling thing to another level. That's cool. How do you manage all of this?
Some days I nearly crazy. I won't lie. Like I said, I'm not going to do any aspire to aspire, recover any container here. Some days it's hard. Some days there's a lot of pressure. We're currently building our mini film studio, and it is taking a lot.
I can imagine.
It is taking a lot. And you also have your team to take care of. You have to provide leadership. You have to be a husband. You have to take care of your parents. You have to take care of your younger siblings. You're a source of succor to quite a number of people. I think one of the things that just reminds me is that so you can't play God in everyone's life. And it reduces the pressure a bit. But there are some days it gets really hard. And what I've done is I've built a community that pours into me. It's a community where I can be vulnerable. It's a community where I'm not always shouting about the problems Nigeria has. I'm shouting about my own problems. I'm telling you about where it really hurts. And you have people who speak life into you, And I'm grateful for that community. I rest a lot.
Very important.
No, that's a lie. I lied.
Uh-uh.
I lied. Because when I put a lot, I rest. I try and rest.
Okay.
I try and rest. I use almost every opportunity that I have to take care of myself. I think it helps that I'm introverted.
I still can't believe it because you don't look like you are an introvert.
I am. I'm an introvert that is a fake extrovert. So, I would say ambivert, but tilts more towards the introverted type, And so I think it helps me that I don't go out a lot because I think you have to know exactly what fills your cup as a person. And I think that's what a lot of young people miss out on. A lot of people think that, just hang around people and you feel better. For some people, no. Some people need to hang around themselves. Now, the difference between the way I fill my cup and the way some other people fill their cup is I need those moments of solitude to recalibrate again. When I'm exposed to noise, it's a little bit too stimulating. It feels too much. And so it's also a source of stress. And then I feel like I have to keep up an act. But when I'm by myself or with my community that understand me, they know Nonso needs to rest. I mean, I've had people come to my house, spend time with me, and the moment I feel like my cup is drained, they know. Nonso no longer has to play host. I can leave you downstairs and go upstairs to my room and sleep. It's your house too. Right? And because they don't judge you on those metrics, it kind of makes it easy for me. There are other people who they just need to be around other people and their cups are being filled. Do you? You just need to find what fills your cup and do it. I also try as much as I can to avoid, especially when the burden becomes too much. One of the things that I learned, I think a couple of years ago, was to delegate.
Very important.
Very important, especially if you're in a position of leadership. You need to learn how to delegate. That doesn't mean that you have to be an armchair leader. Yeah, people will turn delegation into another thing, and they don't do anything.
Anything at
They
all.
just, you do this, you do no, 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 no. When we delegate, my job description has now been to train the leaders or the people that have delegated.
Yeah.
So I have to, if I have not trained them, I can't blame them. Right. So my job just became more. So it's doing all this and still surviving.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You're doing well. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so do you guys have any question for Aproko Doctor before I ask my final question? You do? Okay, fire down.
Of course. First of all, man, congrats. You're a serial guy, so you never to be caught up fresh, Serial guy,
I mean,
serial too as well. So,
Ah, O'Leary boys.
when you mentioned Badger, love guiding, that's why I was born to as well.
Nice.
So, congrats. Everything you said is actually touching. It felt so emotional at a point, because it is very, very important that we state that, it is scary, the state of what's going on in our health sector. And even everyone will have experienced like losing someone to health sector. And that's why I felt emotional because, it takes me back to people that have lost, for example, someone does not have, hospitals do not have gas, that, I don't know, that happens a lot, and people
or they inflate the
actually,
price of the oxygen. They did that to
yeah,
us about
oxygen,
topic
sorry,
one of that.
it's really scary, and it feels like what you're doing is so important to the extent that it feels like we need more of you, and we don't even realize it. It's almost like we don't need to. It's not like we're scaring anybody, but the fact is that we are at the state of emergency. And it's only Aproko Doctor that is just standing alone, and we can't see it. I saw you everything in the video you shared about the hospital in the north, and even this morning I woke up to the Trump announcement as well, cutting down, and everything you just highlighted is really, really scary to the extent that what is our reality, I mean, to the extent I feel like, should we just go back to our the roots and start depending on our
Traditional medicine.
traditional medicine, which I know you will touch on. But
Yeah, well.
I mean, the point is, it feels like medicine is too expensive, and that's a reality. And it also feels like the government is not interested. And policies change everything. Policies change everything. Politics change everything. Who becomes our next president? All of that changes. Everything goes back to politics, policies, and everything. So, and we are the people and politics is two different things. We are not aligning. The government, only God knows what they are seeing that we are not seeing, but they are not doing anything to solve this problem. It almost feels like the people are left on their own. And when it comes to the health sector, do we now just start focusing on, traditional? I'm just saying, I like us because I know you talk about traditional things and how we need to be careful, but is that a form of solution, sort of?
Yeah. So, first of all, thank you. Thank you for those questions. And I would say this, that there are countries that have found a way to fuse orthodox medicine and the unorthodox ones, right? But before a drug is pushed to people, we're not lab rats. There has to be extensive testing. Before a drug is pushed to the market, there has to go through rigorous testing before it even gets to clinical testing, or clinical trials rather. Even when it gets to clinical trials, the number is small, so that you limit the amount of the whatever might happen. And the people who sign up to the clinical trials sign informed that whatever is the outcome of this, I do not hold you responsible. When it comes to the other part, we simply hold on to "it work for my neighbor." Unfortunately, you cannot run drugs that way. There has to be extensive testing also. And so you when it was COVID, you heard a lot of things. People came up and said, "Oh, there's this mix, this and this, mix and this, and then it will cure COVID." We saw how that ended up. So anybody can wake up and make claims. Can we substantiate your claims? Can you submit your drugs for testing? That's all we're asking before you release them to the public. I have a friend who ran a test in 2013 about the components of agbo. One of the major components was naphthalene. And there is a particular amount in which if beyond that amount, it becomes poisonous, right? Naphthalene is basically what you refer to as camphor. We know that camphor is poisonous.
Yeah.
So, how do you know that that bottle you drank does not have those things? You need rigorous regulation if people are going to take these things. So it's not that we're just sitting here shouting, Agbo is bad, Agbo is this. No, we're just saying, submit it. Share your results with the public. There is no drug that's been released to the market, to the best of my knowledge, that has not been subjected to this. As a matter of fact, that's why doctors can tell you when you take this medication, these are the side effects. Because it has gone through testing and we have come to the conclusion that the benefits outweigh the risks. Sometimes, if the risks outweigh the benefits, we don't give it. We look for other medication. That's one. Secondly, Nigerians, I need to stop using the word Nigerians. Secondly, a lot of people do not understand how damaging anecdotal evidence is. Now, what do you mean by anecdotal evidence? Anecdotal evidence is when we say I might put out something like this now and say the life expectancy of Nigerians, male Nigerians, is 56 years. Either 56 or 54, I'm not entirely sure now. And somebody will say, no, my neighbor downstairs is 99. And he thinks that just by telling you that his neighbor is 99, it has refuted your claim that the life expectancy. No, it means that you just don't understand what median, mean, and averages mean.
Yeah.
It means that if you calculate the averages, the average lifespan a person is supposed to get to is 56 years. A bit higher for women. Right? When you now make a statement, they say, but our grandparents lived longer. That's not true. It's the grandparents you saw that lived longer. Ask them what happened to their mates. Most of their mates died in childhood.
Yeah.
But you're using that singular person that you can see as a metric for everybody that's old. This is really not that intelligent. So we have a couple of ways to help change this, right? And that's also why I still strongly believe in storytelling. And that's because one of the ways people learn things is, for example, Nollywood. Oh, he faints, pour on water. Where did they learn it from? Have you ever asked yourself? Just go into the street now and act like you fainted. Somebody will find pure water and pour on you.
Yeah.
Because it's entrenched into our entertainment, our stories, what we tell ourselves. And so for you to change that, it's not just me sitting down behind a camera and saying it. It will change some things, but it won't change everything. It means that there needs to be cross-collaboration across everybody who is involved in storytelling. And we need to understand that we need to tell better stories. If you're talking about HIV now, it means that we need to be very careful of the kind of stories that go out there that promote promiscuity. I'm not going to sit here and sound like I'm holier than thou, but just the stories we tell ourselves are damaging. Now, to the first part of your question, does it look like it's only me doing? Oh no, it's not. So part of what I've also done is to raise the. We started a school called the TDA, so it's called the Aproko Doctor Academy. The idea behind that is to also train other health professionals to be able to become better storytellers.
Okay.
Right, and from there we're able to pull from a pool of talents for people, because it's very difficult for people who are not health inclined to tell health stories.
Yeah.
Right, so we're currently training people. We graduated our first cohort December 2024. We're graduating another cohort soon, so there's training going on. It's just little actions that will shift the needle a bit until we get to that tipping point. Yeah, hopefully.
So basically, what if they submit what if they submit their ideas? I mean, I'm talking about like traditional, solutions. What if they who, by the way, who do they submit it to? Is there like an organization? And
Yes.
does
Yes.
it actually pass through all of that, and then we now say we have produced our own drug?
If you can prove beyond all reasonable doubts that your drug works, I don't see any reason why anybody would want to stop something that helps the average Nigerian, especially if it comes at a cheaper cost.
Does it go to international bodies before that as well?
So it has to be verified, right? For the United States, they have the FDA,
Okay.
right? For Nigeria, we have NAFDAC. Yes. Even when I said NAFDAC, somebody just resigned. Somebody just did. Yes. Which is basically what I said about public trust. One of the problems we have in this country is that our systems are broken. And until people believe and trust in the systems, you cannot make any substantial progress. The reason people spend so much going to schools abroad is because they know that there is a rigorous system that ensures that the best comes out of this. If you do not qualify, you will not pass through. Come to this site, and it's a different story. And so you're worried about the quality that is being churned out. So until that problem of public trust is solved, which still has to go back to systems becoming bigger than people. But it looks like people are becoming bigger than systems. Oh, now my brother get the drug, make him pass through. And you expose a certain drug to, of course, I sincerely hope that that's not what happens. Because I can't speak for that. Right? So, it's a systemic problem.
So it just was screwed. Screwed. Sorry.
Do you guys have any other question? Okay, go ahead. Yes.
Okay, so my question is, so there was one boy on Twitter. He said something that they dragged him for, but when you take a closer look, it was actually making sense. He said that girls these days, that's my gender, that when you take a deep dive into our health history, that something is always wrong with one person. So before, we usually have probably like 10 people, something happens to like 3 people. But now it's as if you bring 10 girls, you usually find something in the 10 girls, right? So my question now is it that, so I want to tell you maybe it's normal, because the first response is, like the backlash I was getting is we are women, we have things that we go through monthly. But my question now is there something we are missing? Is there an information we are missing? Is there something we're supposed to be checking for? Is there a vaccine they did not give us as girl child when we were younger or something? Because if you call 10 girls now, you surely find something wrong with someone. And it's not looking like the new normal, which is not what was happening before. So it's more or less like as a girl child, you can't experience a normal life without having nothing wrong with you. So I don't know. That's my question.
Okay. So the because there's a lot of generalization, my answer would also come with a lot of generalization. And when I say generalization, I don't mean almost everybody has it. I'm just saying I would try not to be specific about the issues. I'm not going to assume what issues that are currently being spoken about. But I would say one of the first problems is that person is talking from their point of view. So those are the people, quote and unquote, he is in contact with.
Okay.
So there's also something called a pull. Which pull is it pulling from? If you're saying houses are bad, are you asking the whole Nigeria or are you asking a particular section? So it would have been better if he had mentioned if you call from a particular area. And like I said, it's still anecdotal evidence. People use their own personal experiences as a framework for everything that happens in the world. And like I said, it's not bad. It's just a flaw we have as human beings. If you grew up knowing a certain thing, you're going to assume that that applies to everybody. Secondly, I just think that people are now becoming aware of these issues. And a small example that I will mention is periods. There are people who have had painful periods all their life that it has become normal. But what we're finding out now is that any period pain that actually influences the impact of, or negatively impacts the quality of your life is not normal. So having painful periods that will make you not, there's the occasional cramp here and there, and I'm not going to try to put my legs into a woman's shoes, but the kind of pain that gets people hospitalized is not normal. But you find out that before now, it used to be taken as normal. So people are just waking up to, people are now becoming more self-aware, more health aware, simply because of the information that is now publicly out there. Before, that information never used to exist. And as a matter of fact, we have a documentary coming out in February about painful periods.
Okay.
Right? And we so we got a couple of women and then we put them in a room and then we had conversations about them. And you'd realize just how many people think painful periods are normal. They're not normal. So, and another thing is lifestyle.
Lifestyle, very important.
Another thing is lifestyle. A lot of things we do right now are, if you take things like shisha, people assume it's safe, but then it's not. Alcohol, they tell you if you take one drink a week, WHO has
Sugar.
found out that there's no safe level of alcohol. The amount of sugar, the amount of negative lifestyle practices, people don't exercise, right? People don't walk. Something as simple as walking can extend the lifespan of a person. So it's just we are becoming more aware, but our practices, need to come up to the level of awareness that we have.
Very, very important. Lifestyle changes needs to be. If you feel like, everybody has issues, it's probably because of, I don't know, but it might be just with something that, because I have a personal experience. I used to have migraines a lot. Like a lot. It was so bad. I now discovered when I cut down on my sugar and certain carbohydrates, it stopped.
Yeah.
I've not had headache for like the longest time for no reason. I'm like, so I've been the one killing myself ever since. So little lifestyle changes can really improve your health if you take it seriously.
And there's also secrecy. Secrecy then and now. People were taught not to talk about their issues.
Yes.
And now we can talk about it.
Yes.
People were taught not to talk about their issues. So you just assume that the average woman was like 56 or 54. It's fine. No, she's not. She's going through things. But they don't just talk about it. Because when you talk about it, you're probably seen differently, Yeah.
Cool. You have a question? Okay. Cool. Aproko Doctor won't go home today.
Okay. So, first of all, I feel like it's a really good thing that you are taking advantage of people's flawed sense of value to do something of value. So people would rather place their value on entertainment than on healthcare. So if you're going to laugh at comedy, laugh and learn something. Yeah. So I think that's really calm. That's really good, right? But then, to an extent, it is unimaginable to see someone doing like something this professional draw inspiration from entertainment industry. So you see people in law, people in tech, people in medicine. They are those kinds of people. 2 + 2 is always 4 for them. It's not like the creative industry that there's you can see things from different perspectives. In medicine, 2 plus 2 is 4, 4 plus 4 is 8. There's no so when it comes to like your storytelling, your inspiration, how do you get them? And given the fact that you are an introvert to a very large extent, how do you like get this inspiration? How do you put these things together? What exactly do you how are you? What do you do exactly?
So, I think first of all, understand the people you're called to reach, right? Which is your target audience. You need to understand their language, but for you to understand their language, you need to listen to them. And so we listen to them. We listen to what their problems are. We listen comment sections. I don't play with them. I'm always combing through comment sections, even when the popular blogs like Instablog or Gossip Mill, post some things that are health related. I go to the comment section first, and I see what the prevailing mindsets towards issues are, and so we know, okay, this is a pain point. This is what we need to attack. Right? Secondly, how do we get inspired with these stories? Stories are stories nonetheless. Stories there's a universal language called stories. As a matter of fact, stories are hardwired into your brain. That one of the ways we understand information is when we're told stories. When we had ancestors who were gatherers and hunters, and one came across a lion, when they came back, they did not give facts and figures, they gave stories. And by telling a story, you've saved a whole community from probably getting mauled by a lion. Because you just told them that so place. Which is why you notice that even before we had TVs and radios, after every day, the hunters gatherers will come together, sit down around a fire, and tell stories. The second thing is that stories connect you on a deeper level than fact will. I want you to think back about the lecturer you loved the most in school. The lecturer you thought was interesting. It was a lecturer who told stories. Did they help you pass? Yes. Did you love the stories? Yes. So the stories is where the creative. So for people like us who are professional in professional fields, the stories change, the information doesn't. So the creativity is ensuring how can you say the same thing 20 times? How can you tell 20 different stories about a singular issue? How can you look at it's no, not the same thing. So it's like finding a fact, because the fact is the message, and telling different stories around it from different perspectives, because you would appeal to different people. Another thing is that the powerful thing about storytelling is, in this room alone, you have been through different levels of emotions. At some point, we came close to depression. Yeah. At some point, we came very close to inspiration. We wanted to do something about it. How? Stories. Because you are feeling emotions that I have been able to pass across.
Yeah.
The storyteller is also important. The storyteller is important because gesticulation is a story. So most times, what I tell creatives, especially people who want to be behind the camera, is like, you are also a story.
Yeah.
And it's the story you tell that other people would, feel. I think there was a recent experiment where they plugged, basically monitoring the brains of two people, and one was narrating a very sad story, and the person who was listening was feeling the almost same emotions as this person was. And people don't get inspired by facts and figures. We get inspired by emotions. The only thing that has been able to excite emotions, or shown to excite emotions at a level that nothing else has been, are stories. If you want to donate, don't give facts and figures. Tell a story.
Yeah.
If you want people to donate, don't give facts and figures. There's a particular guy who's on social media now who drags everybody. What does he do? Tell stories. He doesn't come and tell you, out of 5 national bodies, 4 are corrupt. People don't care.
Yeah.
You would think people do, but they don't. Because you're talking to the wrong audience. The people you should be talking to are the people. I mean, we tune into places where they're having professional conversations and people are sleeping. How many times have you found yourself sleeping off during gist, except you're tired? You want to be a part of the story. So yeah.
This is also a creativity lecture. It's just it's just simply what we do as creatives, and even brand self can learn from it, right? It's the same thing. It's just saying it in different words. It's a storyteller by nature. You just need to first of all gather insights. So those facts and figures, those are insights, and then you use those insights to form your story. But what happens with most of us is that we get those facts and figures and we just present it.
Dump
like that.
it.
Just dump it. Nobody will take it serious. But do you think storytelling is a talent? Do you think it's a
No.
talent?
No.
It's
I
a
think
skill.
it's a skill.
Okay.
Storytelling is a skill that anybody
Can
can tell.
learn.
It's just most times there are stories at different levels, right? But once you understand how stories are being told, it's something that can be taught. It's something that can be learnt. I usually tell people, just imagine you're not speaking to a crowd. Just think you're talking to a friend.
Your friend.
It becomes easier. When you think you're talking to a crowd, you feel, oh, I have to impress this person, I have to impress that person, I have to impress. Most times, just be yourself. There is the me you would always get every time. And that almost coincides with the real life me.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for people who want to be like you?
No, don't be like me, be yourself. Oh.
They want to be storytellers.
Okay. I'd say for you to tell a compelling story, you have to first find a pain point. And the reason I say pain point is there is something that troubles you that doesn't trouble other people. You alone see it. You and a special group of other people are the only people who can see that problem from that perspective. There's a reason that is happening. It will be difficult for me to tell a story from another person's perspective.
Yeah.
It won't be as compelling as this.
Yeah.
So find a compelling pain point. Find something you're obsessed with. It could be in any field, but tell it. And I say that because it also gives you a purpose. And the reason it gives you a purpose is there are times when it's going to get difficult. There are times when it's going to look like you're not getting results.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps you going is the purpose, is the reason why you're doing what you're doing, is that singular person that you're telling the story to help influence or impact them. Thirdly, I would say iterate. Iterate as much as you can. Every story I tell is an improvement on the last story. Because I do not see every single story I tell as perfect. There is no perfect story. It can always be improved. And so we always assess the stories, we look at them, we find how we can impress, how we can improve on those stories, and then we tell it better at different times. So always iterate, always improve on your stories. Now, it's very easy to say be consistent. But I would say this instead. If you're finding it difficult to be consistent, it's probably not what you should be doing.
Yeah.
Obsession naturally comes with consistency. Oh, Aproko, how do you do it? Before we wake up in the morning, your video says that. It's because I am obsessed with it. I have to force myself to stop. As a matter of fact, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor on the 3rd of January of December 2022. I had my surgery on the 18th. In that period, all the videos that were released in January were shot in that period. I was blind. I couldn't see the camera. I was blinded by the lights, but I created those stories.
Wow.
It not be consistency be that one. There has to be something that drives you. Find it. Or else you'll always be forcing yourself to work.
Yeah. And if you're forcing yourself, you will not be real.
That was a perfect excuse. I get brain tumor. I can't shoot video.
Yeah.
But I knew that there was a life somewhere that depended on what I was saying.
That's interesting. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We had an amazing session today. I am so inspired. I'm sure you guys are inspired now, B. Yeah, so inspiring. And hopefully we all get to be like Aproko Doctor in one way or the other. Not be like him, but at least please just take care of our health and contribute to our own quota towards making the healthcare in Nigeria better, because there's nobody that will do it for us. So according to Mr. Hakim, we're screwed. but
me.
we're not. I feel like there's always a way out, and if we come together, if everybody plays their part, we will find that way, hopefully. So
Yep.
thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dr. Aproko Doctor, for coming to see me, Dr.
you.
Aproko Doctor. Thank
Don't
you so
worry,
much
happens.
for coming. It's been an amazing time. We hope
It
to
has
see more
been.
of you.
It has been.
And please keep doing what you're doing. No, don't stop. Don't ever stop. I know you won't even stop because you're obsessed with it. So thank God. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
All right, guys. If you have any questions for Aproko Doctor, please leave them in the comments, and we will make sure that he answers them. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time. Bye.